What is up, guys? Frosty Aussie 0232 here today for another Frosty Features. Today we cover our long-awaited new member, 4 new warriors. We've had the 3-piece for a while, plugging and playing with all sorts of different characters, and finally we are getting our final 2 new warriors in Marvel Strike Force. And today we are covering the brave, the beautiful Firestar. Alright, so, for those of you who haven't been here before, this is a comic book background on the toons that you use in Marvel Strike Force, and I am your humble historian, Frosty. And with that, let's get going.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar.
We typically stick to the comic book background, and for the first time, this character originates from that show, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So, according to Scopely has moved away. So typically, this segment of Frosty Features is referenced from the blog post. I'm not sure if Scopely has made this conscious decision to move away from describing characters in the blog post, because one of the other new Warriors character coming to the game has a blog post description, but Firestar also did not have one. So what I did was they made a video, and this is the information they gave in the video for Firestar. So what they said was, this Marvel mutant went from Emma Frost to assassin to new warrior hero. Jones lost her mother at an early age as a teenager. The stress of changing schools, bullies, and the death of her grandmother awakened her latent mutant abilities. She was detected by Professor X and Cerebro, but the Hellfire Club were the first to extend their hand to this powerful new mutant. She found that she could generate and manipulate microwave radiation, giving her the power to fly and project intense heat and light. Under the tutelage of Emma Frost, Angelica sharpened her abilities and was given the codename Firestar. But when Firestar discovered that Emma was secretly training her to be an assassin, she left to join the New Warriors team. With this band of young heroes battled against villains like the High Evolutionary, she also joined forces with the Avengers, X-Men, and even Spider-Man and his amazing friends. On occasion, to help protect Earth from numerous threats in Marvel Strike Force, Firestar stands again with the new warriors fighting along Deathpool, Cloak, and Dagger, and a new arrival, Gwenpool. So, this is from the Firestar Origins and Backstory. They just released it on YouTube yesterday. Check it out. That's all the information they said. It's really just her origin and not much else, but we'll look at it moving forward. So, this is Firestar. Name is Angelica Jones, often referred to by her friends and family as Angel. First appearance is actually Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Episode 1 in 1981. I just showed that little intro. Rolf in the chat said copyright strike incoming. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because I showed a very short portion, but we'll see. So first appearance in 1981, and then she came to the comics, so she was an original character for that show, due to licensing rights with Human Torch, I believe. So her first appearance in comics is actually in Uncanny X-Men 193 in 1985. Also in the show, she was not designated as a mutant. It is brought up actually in this issue, Uncanny X-Men 193. So her being a mutant was sort of an afterthought, but works really well. Powers and abilities: microwave energy manipulation. So what she does is she taps into microwaves and she can turn them into light and fire. She is not, as far as a lot of our pyro heroes we've been getting a lot in the game recently, she's pretty weak compared to a lot of them. So that's something to keep in consideration. She can be out-heated and beaten. She has no protection against high heat that isn't her own. So she can get super hot or whatever and attack people and it not affect her. But if somebody hotter attacks her, she still gets affected. So it's very important to remember she's got some pretty blaring weaknesses as compared, very similar to Pyro, the character, the other mutant that He has actually no protection against fire for the most part, so he gets burned all the time. She's very similar, but she doesn't get burned by her own fire. Aliases: Angel and Fire Girl. It's kind of self-explanatory, and I already said the thing about it. Up next, affiliations. So with affiliations, she's been a part of a whole bunch of different teams. She's been around since, the 80s, but even since then, she plays a lot of supporting roles. She's had a limited run of her own, but for the most part, she's kind of a supporting character, so she doesn't have an immense amount of content, but a big thing about her as a character is due to her origin, she doesn't have a very solid footing with one specific team. She's typically used as a spy or double agent, or she's forced into these types of roles, so she hops around a lot. So some of the main ones that we're going to talk about today are the Hellions, X-Men, New Warriors, and the Avengers. Cool. So who died? Because you can't be a superhero without somebody dying. Her grandmother and her mother, technically. But when she was young, her mother died. It isn't explicitly stated how her mother died. She just did. And she is raised by her father and grandmother. And as she is a teenager, going through bullies in school and stuff like that, as explained by Scopely, she starts to develop her powers. This starts freaking her out. Starts freaking her dad out. And then at one point, she's on the phone with her grandmother, and she's talking to her grandmother, and she's freaking out, and her grandmother stops responding, and Angelica's freaking out more, and she melts the phone. She goes and finds that her grandmother has died due to heart failure, and she is really going through the situation. But all this brings her to being discovered, with her powers kind of coming together, being discovered by Professor X and Emma Frost. Background: an American mutant. It's undefined where her birthplace is. Typically that's kind of what I go off of. So she's an American, she's mutant. There we are. So I wanted to point out something about, there's a story in which Mr. Sinister clones her, and I didn't want to throw it in the notable event because it's not like the biggest thing, but Mr. Sinister clones mutants because he's trying to kind of find this perfection. He clones Firestar, and she's like a perfect clone in every way, whatever, but is in a situation, that clone gets put into this situation where she gets melted alive. And I that's really all I wanted to say, but what a horrible freaking way to die. So she, as a clone, she has cellular degeneration, and in the middle of a fight, she just melts to death. And since clones are so prevalent in Marvel, and they are people too, she felt every second of that. Just wanted to say. Also, powers is a double-edged sword. So we find that there's a lot of Marvel characters that kind of run into these situations where they get illnesses or whatever as a side effect of their powers due to Firestar using microwaves. She really gets some of the worst of this compared to some of the other heroes. At first, she shows signs of like becoming sterile, and she's not due to her overexposure to microwaves, which is fair. So with her tenure with the Avengers, Hank Pym tries to help her out with that, and kind of more or less cures her. But as we move on and she gets away from the Avengers, there's a whole point where she goes into retirement, and we follow her, and she ends up getting cancer due to her overexposure to microwaves, and her friends are like all trying to find these different ways to help cure her, and eventually, a deal is struck with a demon, and they have to spend a night in hell, and it's a whole thing. That's a cool arc too, but she ends up getting her cancer cured, but she very often becomes ill due to her powers, which is really unfortunate. So just something interesting to keep in mind. Moving forward, relatives and relationships. She actually doesn't have that much. Like I said, not a whole bunch of content. Bart Jones is her father. Her grandmother and mother are unnamed because mom dies off screen and grandmother dies immediately in the first comic she's in. So it's kind of hard to kind of deal with that. Vance Astrovic, ex-fiance, that's Marvel Boy, also known as Justice. Telekinetic, kind of awesome dude in the New Warriors. They're engaged for a short period of time. Angelica proposes to him and he says yes. but they end up breaking it off due to her, lack of commitment. Goes with the theme with the teams as well. So, notable events. Massachusetts Academy. So Massachusetts Academy is where Firestar is going, and she ends up becoming intertwined with Emma Frost and the Hellfire Club. Emma Frost is running her own version of Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. So what she does, she's training this group that she calls the Hellions, and she has Emma Frost kind of intention. So Emma Frost is kind of back and forth, anti-heroine type situation. So she does want to help people, right? So the whole thing about Xavier School is getting mutants to be not only accepted by society, but to learn how to control their powers for themselves, and then if they join the X-Men, they can use them for good, right? So for Emma Frost, it's like, I'm gonna teach you how to control your powers so that you can fit in and be a means to my end. So she more or less weaponizes her students. Because she uses her telepathy to help them train, she is very effective at getting these mutants' powers honed. But she's legitimately a manipulative master. She's the White Queen of the Hellfire Club, which is a big point here. So her whole thing with Firestar specifically is training her to become an assassin so she can kill the Black Queen Selena, right? But Firestar doesn't actually recognize that this is a situation. She just trusts Emma overall, like 100%. And due to her being a mutant at this academy and stuff, she gets assigned a bodyguard named Randall Chase. Randall Chase isn't really in much except for this is the Firestar limited run I referred to earlier. So he is involved with her. Randall Chase does not trust Emma Frost, but he has to train himself not to think ill of her when he's around her because she's a telepath. So she is assigned this bodyguard. They are training, and so Emma Frost essentially is training her on these things. She throws her in their version of the Danger Room. So the Danger Room is like a simulation where the X-Men will fight different scenarios. So they have their own version of the Danger Room, and they throw Firestar in there, and Emma Frost has her fighting the X-Men all the time. And she's like, why is this? And then while she's sleeping, she's giving her dreams about the X-Men attacking her and things like that. And she's just crazily gaslighting and manipulating her so that they could fight. And there's a situation in this Danger Room where there's a Wolverine thing, and she's trying to control her powers, and the Wolverine robot explodes, and Emma Frost set that up to happen on purpose, and she convinces Angela that her powers blew it up and she can't control them. And this happens over and over and over. And so she finds this solace. There's stables at the academy, and they have all these horses. She finds solace in this horse. And there's a situation where the Emma Frost puts up a school dance, and the school dance is going to be this big thing. And Firestar goes, and she invites some of the New Mutants to come and participate. And there's some X-Men involvement. It's just supposed to be this fun little thing. And then she starts having these flashes, and she freaks out, and she goes to her, the horse, her emotional support animal, if you will. She goes to Butter Rum in this horse, and the stables catch on fire, and she freaks out and she runs because she thinks she did it, and Butter Rum burns to death, which is super great. And then Emma, goes ahead and lets Firestar know that it was her fault, even though Emma once again orchestrated this. All the while convincing Firestar to wear this bracelet, which gives Emma some limited telepathic control over her all the time. And Randall Chase is like, all of this is really speculative and not great. What the heck are you doing? And then Emma's like, you know too much. I don't like how you think. You're screwed. So all of the secret agents within the academy kidnap Randall Chase, tie him up, torture him, beat the crap out of him. And Emma tells Firestar, yeah, you're bodyguard. Yeah, I know you were good friends with him or whatever, but He's dead. The Black Queen killed him. So don't worry about it. And then Firestar's like, no. Let's go get the Black Queen. I will protect you from the Black Queen. There's a Hellfire Gala coming up. Let's go, like, whatever. So Emma Frost, she's played perfectly into this situation, and they get to the ball, the gala, and all the Hellfire people are there, and Firestar's getting real iffy, and Emma's about to, pull the trigger and be like, kill the Black Queen, and Firestar's probably gonna do it, and then all of a sudden, comic books, Randall Chase shows up. Randall Chase is like, she's evil. She's manipulating you. What are you going to do about it? And Firestar's like, I'm going to burn down all of the underground caves and underground facilities that are used to train the mutants at the academy. Bye. Doesn't even fight Emma. Just leaves and goes and starts destroying the stuff. Emma shows up and is like in the catacombs or whatever and is like, hey, stop what you're doing. This is all for like good. And Firestar essentially corners her, about to permanently burn her face, and is like, listen, this is what you get. Screw you and screw this place. I'm outie, fifed outie. Turns around and that's literally what she says. Read the run. No. But anyway, she's like, I'm done. You're awful. This is bull. I'm gone. And she leaves. And that's how the run ends. But it's pretty cool. It's very big in developing who she is, and she goes from them to the New Warriors, which leads me to the next bit. The next notable event I wanted to point out is Terrax the Tamer. So one thing I find really interesting, two things keep coming up a lot in Marvel Strike Force. Here's my speculation for this Frosty Features. Two things keep coming up an awful lot in Marvel Strike Force: Heralds of Galactus and the High Evolutionary. In this situation, I want to talk about a Herald of Galactus that is not in Marvel Strike Force, who is Terrax the Tamer. So Terrax the Tamer is the reason why the New Warriors even come together in the first place, and since our new team with Firestar in it is our new full team, is the New Warriors, I figured it was a good time to bring this up. So Tyros was this alien who could control rock and earth, and he took over this little city in this planet called Burj, the city of Landlac, and he's very strong, and strong enough that Galactus takes note of him, right? And so this is gonna have a little less to do with Firestar other than her association with New Warriors, but it's just really cool, and I think you all should check this out. So Tyros gets the attention of Galactus. Galactus is very interested. He needs a new herald. Silver Surfer's gone, whatever. And so the Fantastic Four are fighting the Sphinx, and they need help. It's a bigger issue than a planetary thing, and so sometimes they go to Galactus for help. Go figure. And they go to Galactus, and Galactus is like, I'll totally help you if you kidnap this guy so he can become my slave. And think about the ethics of this, y'all. And reluctantly, the Fantastic Four is like, okay, we'll do that. Justifying it to the fact that Tyros is a tyrant to his people. So they go to this moon where the city of Landlac is, and they fight Tyros, and essentially they subdue him and give him to Galactus. Once again, moral quandaries left and right. Galactus is like, great, you're here. I'm enslaving you. You're going to be my herald. My herald gets cool weapons, so he gives him like this cosmic axe that shoots cosmic waves out of it, and he gives him the power cosmic, which makes Tyros' powers super ramped up. That's what the power cosmic does. It gives him cosmic awareness, and it makes them wicked strong. So Tyros, already being a pretty strong individual, becomes debatably heralds the strongest herald of Galactus. There's a lot of you could always debate. He's one of the strongest heralds of Galactus. He takes into a whole bunch of worlds, and he loves doing it. He loves going and taking out entire populations. But Terrax, deemed that by Galactus, does not like being somebody's kid, does not like working with somebody, does not like being subservient, and he ends up escaping, and he holds Massachusetts. He floats Massachusetts above the area, up in the air, and he wants the Avengers and the Fantastic Four to. This is a lot without the New Warriors. I'm sorry, but it's all a means to an end. He's like, you all kill Galactus or I'm going to kill Manhattan. And then the Fantastic Four and the Avengers take him out and he dies. Dr. Doom brings him back to life. Silver Surfer shows up and he gets killed. Okay, all that to say, he gets killed. But where he dies, this is where the New Warriors come in. Where he dies, the ground is irradiated. And there is this company called Gene Tech. And Gene Tech comes in, they're working with this radiation, trying to figure out what it is, and they accidentally revive Terrax. And this is actually what the New Warriors form over. They hear about the threat of Terrax coming back and remember him holding Manhattan hostage. See why I told everything else? They remember him holding hostage, so this leads to the New Warriors forming as the Avengers are off doing other things, whatever. So they call in Firestar and a few of the others. They bring them together and they come to fight Terrax. This version of Terrax happens to be just a rock monster. It's still Terrax the Tamer, but way powered down. And as the New Warriors are fighting him, they find out that if he's not touching the ground, he can't reform, because at this point he's more or less lost the power cosmic, so he can't reform. So they find out if they lift him up off the ground, they can kill him, right? So they lift him up off the ground and they kill him. But then we have somebody from Gene Tech, Herman Ferments, who is like, well, I'm going to absorb Terrax's power and it's going to make us stronger and make him easier to fight, because this fight's sort of ongoing, right? And when he does so, Terrax absorbs him and is able to fix his situation where he can be separated from the ground, and it more or less gains most of his powers back. And he starts beating the living crap out of the New Warriors, and the Fantastic Four show up. So it's the New Warriors and Fantastic Four fighting, and Terrax is just absolutely decimating them. And then Silver Surfer shows up, and Terrax is pretty sure he can take Silver Surfer this time, but Silver Surfer's like, it's not a thing. I still have the power cosmic, you don't. And he plucks his butt right off the Earth, takes him to an unnamed planet that is unmanned and no one is there, and drops him and leaves him there. And that's where Terrax ends up. So microwaves are better than rock. Well, no, actually, so the New Warriors lose. It really is the power cosmic and Silver Surfer, but the New Warriors form over this thing, and then the New Warriors form over this one situation. They lose, but this is how they stay a team. Also note the presence of Nova right there on the side of that panel. That's all I'm saying. It'd be cool, but whatever. It's fine. Nowhere heist team. Marvel Strike Force doesn't care about power level, but here on Frosty Features, we do. So, the way that this works, if you are a multiversal threat, you are a threat to all of reality, not just as you know it, but as all people know it in all realities. So you could put an end to the multiverse like that. Universal means you are a threat to a single universe, maybe strong enough to hop between universes and or completely change out that. That is a thing. And then Cosmic means you are a threat on a planetary scale. You could take out something like an entire population or a planetary body. On the high end, going towards a solar system or a galaxy. Nuclear means you have the power of a nuclear bomb with the power to level something like small cities, all the way up to a planetary body with enough force. Super Soldier means you are human peak ability plus. You are slightly beyond the peak of human capability. Think of Super Soldier as somebody who can level a wall or a building with, taking out the right supports or what have you, and with enough force, maybe be able to level a city block. City means you are at the peak of human level. You are something like a secret agent. You've been highly trained by a specific company, whatever, but for the most part, you are still just a human. And then there's Greg. Greg is the undead Asgardian that is spawned by Hela in Marvel Strike Force, and for the sake of argument, we're going to put Greg at the regular human level. Asgardian physiology and situation and stuff aside, we're putting Greg equal to that of some random dude named Greg. So, if I had a long axe comprised of recycled water bottles, I theoretically could take out Greg, right? So, in the case of Firestar, we are looking at a very, very low-level nuclear power situation. She gets affected by her... She can be affected by similar powers, but the power output that she can have is great enough that she can set something like a city on fire. She is powerful enough, and she has pretty... Other than the gaslighting and manipulation, she has pretty good control over her powers. So she's very low-end to nuclear. Granted, she does kind of get pulled back a little bit due to kind of the drawbacks of her power. So very super soldier 0.5 to nuclear. But she is strong enough to pack enough of a punch to, glass cannon, if you will. Glass cannon. So yeah, that's where we are with Firestar. And according to Scopely, it's okay. It's fine. It's just sort of a very light intro. She's got a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of runs with her battling illness, cancer, things like that. There's Avengers run, New Warriors run. The Avengers try to use her as a spy in the X-Men and vice versa. And so that's one of the major reasons why she can't stay in one thing. There's a lot of stuff that we didn't go into, and all we really get in this description is just that, that very beginning. It is totally correct and it's cool, but it could have been better. But that is Frosty Features Firestar. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments some of your favorite Firestar moments I may have missed, or maybe your favorite one that I covered, something that I got wrong. I'm totally fine with both. As a reminder, I stream at Twitch 8 a.m. Sundays at Central Standard Time. Every week we do Frosty Features live. I hope you all enjoyed this very much. Please like, share, and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything but a couple of clicks. And I hope that you all have a fantastic, fantastic week. And most importantly, y'all, stay cool.